Hey everybody, welcome to Jeep411. On this episode we have the pleasure of interviewing John Currie and his son and daughter, who have basically split a company off from Currie Enterprises, RockJock 4x4 by John Currie. And John and his son Brandon and daughter Amanda are going to explain to us why that split occurred. And not to give too much away, but it's actually, I think, going to be a good thing for everybody. It's pretty interesting what their story is. We're very grateful that John took the time to spend with us to explain what's going on, so all of you can have a good idea of what's happening. So stay tuned and enjoy.
John Currie, RockJock. No, we call it RockJock. It's RockJock, or it's John Currie Performance Group. So we've actually, our main company is John Currie Performance Group, and then RockJock is really our off-road part of it. And the reason for that is we don't want to be only known as an off-road company, and so we have this other name that, you know, if we get into maybe some more of the automotive stuff, we may use that name as well. So, and this is my son Brandon Currie.
Hi, I'm Brandon. I have a background in manufacturing, engineering, and product development, and coming on board to help my dad run the company and see where we can take it as a suspension and steering, I guess, specialist.
I'm 62 years old, and we're, you know, the last few years at Currie, we've been trying to figure out, hey, where's the company going to go from here? Are we gonna continue to run it? Are we gonna pass it down to our kids? Are we going to sell it? So we went along a big process of valuing the company, trying to market the company, and then also figured out along the way, hey, what do we really want to do this, you know, with this company? And you know, and then one of the things, if you're selling a company, is, you know, your name and everything goes along with that. And then by the time you go through the taxes and everything like that, we just kind of figured it wasn't even going to be worth it. So me and my brothers were discussing it one day, and he mentioned, say, hey, well, what if we divided the company up? Because we were really two different parts of Currie. There's the drivetrain part, which is the rear end part of it. And then there was the off-road part with suspension and steering and sway bars. And we started looking at the numbers, and that part of the business was about 30% of the business, or it was, I think, exactly 31% of the business when we really got down to the numbers.
Exactly 30.
And so, well, anyways, and you know, since I own 33% of the company, you know, hey, this might be something we could work out. And so we started down that road. At the same time, I was finding out, hey, you know, he would like to get involved in the company. And then also my daughter, which is a CPA, that she'd be interested in doing something with us as well. But we didn't know exactly, you know, when we were going to need to bring them in and different stuff. So first of all, Brandon came in, started, you know, working with the Currie guys, trying to figure out, hey, you know, which parts are going to go where, and actually making this thing happen. But that's how it really started. And on the good side of that, you know, is that the RockJock side, we could focus on suspension and steering and sway bars and where we want to go with that. So we could be more focused on what we're doing. On the Currie side, they could be more focused on the drivetrain part of it. So instead of, you know, when, you know, part of my job was engineering and new products, we were always going back and forth between, you know, trying to develop stuff for the rear end side of it, and then really the suspension and steering side of it was always kind of the stepchild. It never got 100% attention. Although we have a lot of good product out there, it was never our focus. Our focus was, our bread and butter was really the differential side. So, you know, for me, it made a lot of sense to do this. And it only made sense is because my son would be able to come in with me. You know, because I'm 62 years old. I'm kind of looking for the exit strategy. You know, I want to do what my dad did when me and my brothers took over the business. Was he went out and promoted Currie Enterprises, and he did a lot of off-road. He went to all the different events, and my dad was, I mean, he was busier after he retired than when he was working, because, you know, he was traveling all the time. doing the events, promoting Currie, and that type of stuff. So I see my role in the future is doing the same thing, out promoting RockJock and helping these guys. And and my main part of the business is I'm probably more the idea guy, the problem solver, and then bringing them, hey, this might be a good product, let's try this. This is how we could do it. This is how we could probably make money on it. And I end up spending a lot of money, but hopefully some of those products at some point come out to make money. And we've had some home runs in some of the stuff that we've done.
Just in general, over the last few years, we've seen kind of this, the company is growing as a whole, on the suspension side and the steering, or in the drivetrain side, and they're spending a lot of time out on the road, in the office, and there's coming a point where it's like, hey, how do we get to the next level? And obviously there was all the discussions about selling and what we can do, and I've always had a dream of working with my dad, and I had no idea what that business was going to be or in what capacity. And when the idea came up of, hey, why don't we take on the RockJock brand and see what we can do with it, there was no hesitation on my side to say, hold on, let's think about this. Maybe I should have, but there was no hesitation, because that's something that I wanted to do kind of my whole life growing up. I followed in his footsteps. He's not an engineer by training, or by schooling, but he is an engineer. His mind thinks like an engineer. He comes up with
more of a practical engineer.
Good ideas. How do we do this better? And whether that's a material option or a manufacturing process, or just thinking outside the box. And my thought is, as we're moving forward and creating new products, is let him focus on, like he said, traveling to events, getting the RockJock name even more known as a suspension company and a suspension component company versus the rear ends and drivetrain, and then also let him spend some time in the shop, like what he likes to do, developing new products versus trying to run a business. I come from a product development background, but I've also, I have experience at big corporate companies, at smaller, more startup companies, and I think taking the knowledge and the experience that I've had in my past jobs, and then also bringing in my sister's experience on more of the accounting, CPA, finance, controller side, us working together to run the office and run the company as a whole will allow him the time to continue to innovate for us. Obviously, that's not going to be forever. I think
and I was lucky because I at least sent my kids to school, and now we're able to use what they've learned. My daughter, she went to school not knowing what she wanted to do. After her second year of college, she decided to become an accountant, so she ended up becoming a CPA. He was a little bit more, knew what he was going to do, but maybe not exactly what he was going to do. At the time when he started college, he was racing motorcycles professionally. So when he was in college, that's what he did. He raced motorcycles his whole way through college. When his career kind of ended about the year he graduated from college, and he went out and one of the sponsors was Oakley, and he got a job at Oakley, working on sunglasses. So I always figured at some point we would do something together. He may come up with an idea, hey, let's start a sunglass company, or hey, I got this idea for something, and then I would have the time or the money. Hey, I got money. Let's do whatever direction you're going to go in, and there was never a plan. Maybe my brother had a plan at some point when we actually came up with the name RockJock and named our product line. We had a name for our product line, which was RockJock. I think maybe in Ray's the back of his head, hey, if we ever divide this company up, maybe we should have two different names. And unfortunately, we named some of our rear ends RockJock too.
Right.
Which it would have been easier if we didn't name those. But when we divided the company up, there's we have RockJock, we have Anti-Rock, we have Johnny Joint. We could have came up with John Currie Performance Group. We could have come up with a lot of things, but we figured, well, let's just go with the RockJock. We like the logo. It works. It works. Like I said, it's right side up. No matter which way you turn it, works really good on a Jeep. So that's
especially when they tip over.
Right. That's what I was thinking. So we went with that. So we're.
So John, it sounds like you had an ulterior motive, and that is so you can go out and do all the fun stuff.
Well, like I said, that's where my dad was in 1985. Me and my brothers took over this business, and his plan was, hey, my dad was a little bit different. My dad never put anything in. He was afraid it was all going to turn off one day like that, so he put the least amount in as he possibly could, because he just figured, hey, this is all temporary. And when he turned it over to us, it was, he had accumulated some machinery and different stuff. Everything was bought through auctions. Everything was used. Everything was, we paid next to nothing for. And then when me and my brothers kind of came in, to us it was our future. And we started investing a little bit more in machinery. We went from probably maybe, I don't know how many people, there might have been 5 or 6, maybe 10 people at the most, and then, it was more of an investment for us in our futures. And then as we were getting older, I think when we took it over was 1985. I graduated from high school in 75, so I would have been 10 years, I would have been 28 years old, or somewhere around there when me and my brothers actually physically took the whole business over at that point. My dad, like I said, he retired, but when he retired, he was building 2 hot rods at a time and a Jeep and all these things, and he was going traveling.
One of the things that I've noticed since the transition is a big change in how the products look, especially like the Anti-Rock sway bars, the Johnny joints. You want to talk a little bit about that?
That was like different things that we wanted to change over the years, but our focus wasn't always on the product in here. We would get started, hey, let's make a new arm, as you go forward, you start looking at your volume. Okay, with this much volume, what can we do that nobody else can do? And one of the things is, hey, with the volume we have now, with as many like Anti-Rocks we're selling, we can afford to go further. Let's have the arm forged instead of fabricated. So that was a project we actually started a couple years ago, but never moved forward with it because there was other stuff we were working on in between. You have to do stuff as thing comes up. When an emergency comes up, I got to stop working on that project and I got to work on this project. So as soon as we started taking it over, like this, we were able to focus on, hey, this is something we already started on. Let's finish that. So we got that going right away. Another thing we started looking at is, hey, our the way we're boxing stuff. We're not only spending too much time boxing it, but our box doesn't look, we need to have a better box. When somebody gets it, when they see that box and they open that box, they should be impressed with the product. So that's something we're working on right now. So we're trying to design boxes that we could actually fill quicker, and then when the customer gets it, he has a better experience with what he's getting in that box. Everything's in there. He opens it up. It's easy to get out of the box. And just for instance, like a sway bar, they would wrap everything up and actually stuff it in a box. But when you open that thing, you would actually have to pour it out on the ground and then unwrap every piece. Now it's a folding box. You lay it out on the table, you cut the tape, you flip it open, and every piece is right there for you to see it. So it's a lot better experience. And we're just trying to work for that bit. And it's like it's a two-way street. We're spending a little bit more on the box, but we're getting that that better the street presence on it is better. And then hopefully our guys are spending less time boxing it because everything's got a place in that box. So our more popular products, we're going to do that. We can't do that in everything because everything doesn't need a particular box made for it. But we're working on. We did the sway bars first. We're doing our steering wheel. We got new boxes coming for the steering. There'll be a printed box as well. So I don't think the Johnny joints and some of that stuff are going to require that, but.
Probably not. One of the interesting aspects of the transition is there's a big benefit to the consumer because now you're developing more attractive and new products.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets your brand placement out there too more.
Yeah.
So if you're in a warehouse or whatever, you see, a pallet full of product and there's logos on it, you recognize it. You start to understand what these different products are, and then that goes to forward to the people that are selling the product, and then also when the consumer actually gets it, they know, oh, this is a RockJock product that's designed here in California and manufactured, and it has that wow factor, I guess,
right,
that a lot of people are getting accustomed to. More and more, you have to think more and more people are ordering things online, and it's like, how do you get that retail experience to them at their house? And that's, Apple did it with all of their packaging,
right.
and everyone is kind of following that lead of, whoa, this is like from the box to the unpackaging to every little aspect is thought about, to the details, and it just kind of completes the whole experience of getting a new product.
And I also think, with his experience from Oakley and from the other companies he worked for, they look at all that stuff. And it's something that we all need to pay attention to is make sure our customer has a good experience. So.
Well, with the popularity of social media, especially YouTube, influencers often are doing unboxing segments. Right. So the more attractive the box is, the better it is for you guys too. So it's just an interesting aspect of that.
Yeah, I think the whole retail and I guess sales experience has changed over the last 10, 15 years, and there's especially with YouTube, and it started with toys, right, and all these kids doing toy unveilings and creating millions and millions of viewers, and now it's going on to those kids are growing up now. They've grown through this phase, and now they're playing with big toys, Jeeps, hot rods, muscle cars, whatever it may be, and they continue to I'm gonna do this new install video or whatever it may be from RockJock, and oh look, the packaging is so nice, and the whole it matches the product, instead of here, put it in the cheapest box you can get it to them in safe. No, let's go that next step and make it a little bit nicer experience, and it's beneficial for us and it's beneficial for them, right? It's easier to unpack. It's less time and hassle cutting the paper off, and it also saves us time during the actual packaging of it. So.
The Jeep market, we were always in it because we grew up in it as kids, but when we really got into it, in 1985, we moved from our little place there, our 4 acres in Placentia. We moved down the street about 2-3 miles to Anaheim. We had a 20,000 square foot building, and my dad bought the property for basically nothing from, I think, the flood control zone or something like that. So we had that narrow building on this narrow strip of property. So once we got moved in there, that was a big deal. We moved all of our stuff, all our machines, moved into that building, rented out the front half. We had the back 10,000 feet, and so we're in there and getting up and going, and my dad goes, hey, we should build some Jeeps. Because we'd always been into Broncos, and we'd had Jeeps, military stuff growing up. I had a 46 Willys when I was right out of high school that I built. And he goes, yeah, we should build some nice Jeeps. and only because we're out in our Bronco one time, we were trying to climb a hill, that the lighter Jeeps would go up, but the Bronco, we really had to work because the Bronco was just a little too heavy. So me, my dad, and my brother went out and bought CJ7s. And that kind of, not really realizing it, that got us into that Jeep market. We started building, everybody does their own thing. My dad did his own thing. My younger brother this time is in the business, raised in the business. He bought I think the Jeep, the Eagle one?
Eagle.
That's Harley Davidson. The Golden Eagle that had the all-wheel drive transfer case that had a V8 in it. My brother bought I forget what year, like an 82. I had like an 81. And my dad bought a Jeep and put a V8 in it. And so we started playing with product for those. And we put 9-inch rear ends in them. It really started with a 9-inch rear end. And then I actually built a 9-inch front end for the front of my CJ7. I had a big block Chevy in my CJ7. For some reason at that time I was into boats and I had a lot of big block stuff. So I figured I got this big block, I just came out of a boat, I'm gonna put this in my CJ7. And oh yeah, that's too big, you know how it goes.
Oh yeah.
Because they said that, it's what do you mean I can't do it? That's exactly why I'm gonna do it. And so I put that big block Chevy, in my CJ7. In part of the process was I went back and built a 9-inch front end for it. And actually my brothers and my dad were telling me, oh, that's too big, you'll never make it work. And it actually worked beautifully in there because it dropped the front drive shaft down a little bit lower, so it missed the starter and the edge of the tranny on that big block Chevy conversion. So I go, hey, this thing went together sweet. So that actually started the that 9-inch just had 44 ends on it and 31 spline inner axles. So it was basically just you're getting the benefit of the 9-inch diff and that stronger housing. And then then went on from there. I started messing around with shackles. I had the greasable urethane shackles. We still sell that stuff today. Went on to the twin stick shifter for the Dana 300. Went on to aluminum replacement knobs for the CJ7. Every little thing that we had a problem with on our Jeeps that we thought it basically became a product at that time. That actually got us into that Jeep market, and every one of those products was stuff I was building for my Jeep. So it got to a point when people would order rims for their Jeep, they would order every piece that we had. Oh, I want your twin stick, I want your shackles, I want your aluminum knobs, I want, it went, then, we never actually made leaf springs for the CJs. When the YJs came out, we started doing leaf springs, front bumpers, rear bumpers, and it, and then, so, that market just kind of, that took us into that Jeep aftermarket stuff. But I remember our first little folder we sent out was just 8.5 by 11 folded, and it just had like a list of products on it, and people would just buy everything on there. So it was that right there was back in the early, I think it would have been in the mid 80s, because it was about in 85, 86 is when we started this. After we moved to our new building, that's when we did it. And that right there was actually the start of RockJock. So even though we didn't call it RockJock at the time, it was Currie Enterprises, that's when we started building the Jeep product. That was actually the start of RockJock. So it was actually about 86. So when you think back to the timeline, we actually trademarked the name RockJock in 2006. That's when we had a legitimate product line with the Johnny joints and the steering and all the stuff. We trademarked that name. And there was a big debate on, hey, I'm thinking, why do we need to have two names? Let's just, what's wrong with Currie? And my younger brother, he goes, I think we should put a division in this. And so if we ever decide that we're going to sell it, this is Raymond thinking back 1980, 2006 actually.
33 years ago.
Right, he goes, I think we should name
yeah.
that division a different part, because it's actually a separate part from the rear ends. Although we ran it together, we named it and trademarked that name in 2006. So, and that's where the name RockJock actually came from. He asked me, what do you want to name it? I said, well, I didn't want to have two names at the time, but we already had the RockJock Ren in 2006. We were calling the Rens RockJocks, and I go, I still like the name RockJock. I think if we're going to have a product line, I think we should call it RockJock, because it was a name, when I was doing the rock crawling competitions back in the day, that was the name I thought up of. When you're seeing guys running around on the rocks and pulling on winch cables and stacking rocks, that's how I came up with the name RockJock. It was not just the Jeep itself, it was the guys out there doing the work to get it through the trail, because I had done both parts. I'd done the driving and the spotting when Jeff and I were competing back in the day, and that's where the name RockJock came up from.
So now that we can focus on suspension, steering, sway bar, and our product line apart from the drivetrain side of the business, I think one of our goals right now is to complete the full suspension line for the Jeep products. So coming up to date, like you said, the Jeep products really started on products that he needed for his Jeep, starting with the CJ, then the YJ and TJ. I think along the way, there's been extra products, developed that he may not have used, but I think there's still quite a few holes in the product line to say, hey, whatever Jeep you have, up to current, we have products for them, and everything from bolt-in suspensions to long arms to steering, just kind of completing that whole product line with the anti-rocks and every little piece in between that's related to steering and suspension, really. And then from there, once we have that solid development done, what else can we do? What else can we bring in house and grow on? I think the anti-rocks are known worldwide for Jeeps. We have some of the universal kits that people are using on Toyotas and many other applications, rock buggies and side by sides. But how do we get better at that? And I think when you look at the volume of product, especially on anti-rocks, I think we're doing the most volume on vehicle-specific products, because it's easy for someone to go online or make a phone call. I have this product, what do you have for, or this vehicle, what do you have for this? So the next steps, do we go into the Toyota market? Do we go into the side-by-side market? Do we go into the heavy-duty truck market? I think those are some of the questions that we need to answer pretty quickly here as we complete the product line for Jeeps. So hopefully, leading into 2020, we could kind of complete the product line. Obviously, we're going to keep developing new products, but for Jeeps. But yeah, what's that next step? And the side-by-side market is blowing up. It's huge. We've dabbled in it, we've never focused in it. So maybe that's that next step. We get a lot of calls and interest in kind of that overlanding market, which I think the Gladiator is going to be a huge vehicle in that market. Obviously, the Toyotas are already being used in that market, and I think the consumers that are really doing the overlanding are starting to like more and more technical pieces versus I'm just going to throw a bunch of camping gear onto my truck or Jeep. They want more advanced products, and I think that's where we can help them. So.
And we're trying to figure out that market too, because they're asking us for like heavier sway bars. Well, we could build heavier sway bars, but how heavy do we need them? If you're building an Overlander, is it going to have a camper on the top, or are you carrying 50 gallons of water on that thing, or we can do that. We're trying to figure the market out ourselves, because we don't want to make product that, hey, if you put a cab over on that thing, we got a sway bar for you. Well, how many are we going to sell? 3 of them. We got to kind of figure out how to make that work, or make a universal product that, hey, we could change this up. We could go from here to here to here for you to make all these work. We've already started down that road. We're doing some like pre-runner sway bar stuff right now. Kind of a new market I'm dabbling in, because I have my Nora truck, and I've been messing with that, and I'm seeing this might be some stuff that we could sell down to that market. And as we go forward, the JT is something we're working on right now. We've already got sway bars. We've already done some suspension stuff for them, and we're going to come full circle again, because we're coming back to Broncos. A new Bronco is going to be coming out, so we're kind of excited about getting to see what this new Bronco actually is, and see what we can do for that Bronco as far as suspension stuff. But we were back in the day, we were big Bronco guys. My dad had a Bronco. He got us on the Bronco thing, because when we were kids, we used to like to go down to Mexico a lot, and we had the Jeep station wagons and stuff like that. Well, the Bronco would go down the dirt roads of Mexico a lot better than those, the Jeep station wagons with leaf springs. So I think my dad, he bought like a '69 Bronco without power steering, and then he had that for a couple of years, and then he bought like a '74 that had power steering and all that stuff, and then, so I had a couple Broncos when I was a kid too. I had a nice Strop Bronco that I wish I still had, but I sold it to buy a house and bought a piece of junk Bronco to fix up, and but we're seeing that right now, how popular that Bronco is, you always go back and look back. Oh yeah, I had some nice Broncos in the day, but so as of right now, I mean, if we see a market that comes along, I mean, right now we want to go with our strengths. Where our strengths are is the sway bars and the suspension and the steering. So, and we'll probably try to focus on those lines. I mean, there's other stuff we do, like our spare tire delete kit that we make for the JL, and that's stuff that we would need for ourselves. That one, like I said, a lot of the products say, hey, I don't like what everybody else is doing. Let's do our own. And so some of that product, we're still going to go that direction. And as far as the hot rod thing, we're trying to figure that out as well, because and the hot rod thing today is, it's nice to go walk through a hot rod shop and then see what they're doing and see, hey, there's some way that we could help them. Like with Art Morrison, basically that stainless steel Johnny joint came up. We went up there and stopped by and seen them one day, and I noticed they were chrome plating all these Johnny joints. I go, we can make you a stainless joint that's going to be a lot cheaper than taking all those things apart and chrome plating, and you guys will buy it. It'll be done. It'll be polished. You can bolt it right in. So as we go forward, that's what I'd like to do is see what people are doing, and then see if we could come up with a better mousetrap that will help them not only make a better part, but make a cheaper part for them as well. So
Cool.
You get that kind of stuff that becomes the standard of the industry. This is my daughter Amanda Peterson, and she's the VP of Finance. So she's actually a CPA, so she's getting all of our book work straightened out and figured out what we're actually doing around here. Actually, if we're making or not making money, she's gonna help us along. We didn't realize how important she was until she actually came in and started looking at everything, figuring out that we don't really know what's going on. So I think she's going to be a great asset to the company and help us move forward. We have plans in the future already of changing the way we're doing stuff and our operating system and all that. And once the split is done and we've got everything running with what we've got, our plan is to actually change it probably within the next year or so. Once we're ready. So there's other things coming down the pipe at RockJock. This is what she's done already. You could see the influence that we've had from Amanda around here with some of the clothing in this room and stuff. So she's been getting involved, and that's some of the fun things that happen around here when you're trying to maybe design a new T-shirt, or Brandon has a good eye for the graphic art part. She has a good eye for what maybe the ladies may like, and so not only doing the that part of it, but being involved in, hey, this is something like I did. This is something I may want for myself. So she's kind of helping us in the design of some of the shirts and hats and her jean jacket there and stuff. So, and we're finding people
Which is
are
very
like,
nice, by the way.
And it's definitely the most fun part of what I'm doing right now.
So.
I feel like I'm running out of time to do that stuff though too. So, but just can't wait to get everything settled a little more, so that instead of working out bugs every day, we're actually working on things to better our future and grow the business and those types of things, other than putting out fires every day.
So right now there's still a big transition going on. A lot of companies, they still think that we're part of Currie, and so they're placing order with us, but sending the check to Currie and vice versa, and so we're just trying to get it all happen and make everybody aware. Hey, we're actually two separate companies now, and we're operating as two separate companies. But it's a long process with, I don't even know how many companies we're doing business with, but there's there's maybe 10 major companies that we do business with, and even them, just that 10, they're having a hard time transitioning, and making them aware, hey, we're not Currie no more. This is RockJock. It's a separate company. So, and she's the one
it's a new
dealing
company
with
essentially. So
Right.
we're trying to build a new company, but we also have a large customer base that we're still trying to keep happy. So I think some new companies have time to grow in a way and learn, and we don't really have that time because we already have the customers. So it's just very fast, but
We've had quite a bit of support from Currie, to try to get us up and going, but there's just a lot to learn. And she's used to coming from a company that maybe has their tech is actually at a higher level than our tech is here. And this is, what I feel. A lot of stuff that our girls do down there, they're very good at doing it, but they have it all memorized on what they do. And in the tech world, you don't memorize everything. Everything should automatically happen or should tell you how to do it. They're actually just trying to get caught up to what they're doing down there. They have to put a system, that the girl down there has been doing it for 20 years. She's got all this, how this work is all memorized. For them, it's not. They have to figure out every little thing, and it's very cumbersome. She's, inputting stuff, and it should automatically show up in the general ledger. And one thing they do, they never look at the general ledger. Somebody else actually takes that information and applies it towards the general ledger. For her, she wants to make sure, verify everything she does every day is actually done right. It showed up right, So there's a lot of stuff that, as being a CPA, know what she's doing, that is done differently than the way that we.
So with the rapid increase of women being involved, especially in the Jeep market, are you going to be building a Jeep and having some fun?
I was going to add, Amanda, maybe you could say something about, I've been Jeeping with my dad and my grandpa forever, and now marketing tells me I'm going to get a JT and be a Jeeping girl now or whatever, just something along those lines. And the way he said,
when the kids were first learning to drive, they'd sit on my lap in the Jeep. So she'd be sitting on my lap steering the Jeep, and I'd be doing the gas and the brake, and her hair would be in my face, and I'd be trying to see around her like this, and then once that happened, then when they were, this is probably when they were 10, 12 years old, they were small enough to sit on my lap. That was the last time we drove anywhere. Every time we got on a road where the kids thought they should be able to drive, they wanted to drive whether it was her or her brother. So luckily, that was what my wife tells everybody. The only reason we have 2 kids is because the Jeep was only big enough to fit 2 kids in, or we would have more kids. Maybe today, if they have bigger Jeeps, maybe we would have had 3 kids. But
there you go.
I need a Jeep with a 3rd row, so I can take my kids and the cousins all in one car. But I'm.
There's a new product for you.
In the new year, I think I'll be getting some sort of a Jeep that I won't be building it, but maybe I can watch them build it.
Yeah. So I've introduced her to Charlene Bauer. So she's had a conversation with Charlene, and trying to, so Charlene has given us some good information.
Oh yeah.
And she's. One of them's going to get a JT and the other one's going to get a JL. I'm not sure. They're trying to figure out between the 2 of them.
I want the JT.
The pickup, because she wants to, dump her husband's Jeep or pickups, and she gets a pickup.
If we get the JT, then we can get rid of my husband's truck, and then we don't have to have.
Right. So
nice.
We'll probably be building some form of a JT for her, and then Brandon, I think, may be getting a JL or whatever. So.
Well, we know of a book project that both of those vehicles can go in.
would slide right into.
Oh yeah.
So these will probably be, what Brandon builds will probably be on the higher end, stuff of but what she's going to build, we would just want to build her a good, something that you could drive every day. That
sure.
Of a little bit more on the, probably have 37s on it at least, and that, but we won't go quite as far on it. We're not going to put 40s on it. And, something that they could use as a pickup and as a family vehicle. So that's kind of what I'm envisioning for them. So
nice.
Yeah, so I think going back to, I guess, John Currie Performance Group being kind of the parent company, I know it's probably a little bit confusing to some, but like you said earlier, we we have RockJock, and it's this, it's mainly off-road products, and having the name Rock in there, I think kind of pushes it in that direction. So John Currie Performance Group helps us kind of reach our fingers out a little further than say RockJock does, and we already make certain things in the street industry. It's not something that we're 100% focused on in pushing and marketing, but we do support different hot rod shops and builders and whatnot with product, especially say Johnny Joints. But I think moving forward, along with jumping into say the side-by-side market or the more of the overlanding Toyota market or whatever we decide, we're going to continue to kind of to support the people that have supported us over the years in the street market with control arms that use Johnny Joints and potentially adding more anti-rock sway bars to the street market for bolt-in applications. It's just a matter of time. And like you said earlier, to develop new product, it costs money. To build inventory, to sell it costs money. So we have to do it strategically and make sure it makes sense where we want to jump in there. So that's kind of...
And my heart has always been off-road, so...
We can tell.
I mean, I like it all. I mean, I have a hot rod too, but my interests are always been in off-road, so I always tend to go that direction. Whether it's jeeping, rock crawling, pre-running in Baja, that's the stuff I love to do. So that's kind of where like I said, you take your hobby and make it into a business. Well, that's basically what we've done. So
really glad you tuned in to Jeep411. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll be bringing a lot more episodes to you, so stay tuned. And if you like our videos, please subscribe, like, and share with your friends. You're really important to us, and we'd love to have you come along for our interesting ride in the months ahead. We've got some interesting things planned for you. So, like I said, stay tuned, and thanks for watching.